Welcome back, gentle explorers of reality's hidden currents. Find yourself a comfortable space today. Whether you're nestled in your favorite chair with morning light streaming through the window, walking through nature's quiet embrace, or simply taking a peaceful moment in your day, take a breath. Let your shoulders relax. There's no rush here, no pressure to absorb every detail. This journey we're about to take together is one of wonder and discovery, designed to gently expand your awareness of the mysteries that surround us. I'm curious, where are you tuning in from today? Are you someone who finds peace in questioning the nature of reality? Perhaps you're drawn to the intersection where science meets the unexplained, where human potential brushes against cosmic forces we're only beginning to understand. This content is crafted for your growth, your inspiration, and your journey toward a deeper understanding of both yourself and the universe that holds us all. Today, we're going to explore something extraordinary together, not with the harsh glare of academic scrutiny, but with the gentle curiosity of minds open to possibility. We're going to wander through a landscape where forgotten knowledge meets suppressed discovery, where the quantum nature of reality reveals secrets that have been hidden in plain sight for generations. You don't need to remember every detail, every name or every date we'll encounter. Simply allow yourself to be present with the wonder of it all. Let these ideas wash over you like gentle waves, each one carrying new perspectives on the nature of energy, consciousness, and the magnificent cosmos we inhabit. Sometimes the most profound truths come to us not through forced understanding, but through relaxed awareness, through the soft focus that allows patterns to emerge naturally. The story we're about to unfold together touches the very fabric of existence itself. It's a narrative that weaves through time, connecting ancient wisdom with modern discovery, revealing how certain truths about energy and reality have been systematically obscured, not out of malice, but perhaps out of fear. Fear of what humanity might become if we truly understood the forces at our disposal. What we're exploring today isn't just another conspiracy theory or collection of wild speculation. It's a careful examination of documented patterns, verified discoveries, and the curious way certain breakthroughs in human understanding seem to vanish from public consciousness just as they're about to transform our world. It's about the dance between revelation and concealment that has shaped our understanding of energy, matter, and the fundamental forces that govern our reality. Think for a moment about the last time you felt truly amazed by a scientific discovery, that sense of wonder when you realized how intricate and mysterious our universe really is. That feeling of expansion, of possibility opening up before you like a flower, blooming in fast forward. That's the energy we're going to work with today. That sense of awe and curiosity that reminds us we're part of something far grander than we often allow ourselves to remember. The knowledge we're exploring has surfaced repeatedly throughout human history, manifesting in different forms, different cultures, different eras. Each time it emerges, it carries with it the potential to revolutionize our understanding of what's possible, not just technologically, but in terms of human consciousness, healing, and our relationship with the natural world. And each time, with remarkable consistency, this knowledge seems to retreat back into shadow just as it's about to change. Everything will begin our exploration with a man whose name has become synonymous with innovation and genius, Nikola Tesla, but we won't be looking at the Tesla of popular imagination, the inventor of alternating current and wireless power. Instead, we'll witness a different Tesla, one consumed by a discovery so profound and potentially dangerous that it transformed him from history's greatest showman of electricity into a reclusive figure who spent his final decades in fearful isolation, burning his own research and taking secrets to his grave that might have transformed human civilization. From there, we'll journey backward through time to encounter civilizations that seem to have possessed knowledge of energy manipulation that defies our current understanding of physics. We're not talking about vague mysticism or New Age fantasies, but about archaeological evidence of technological capabilities that orthodox science struggles to explain. Monuments aligned with precision that challenges our most advanced instruments, construction techniques that moved massive stones with apparent ease, and sudden abandonment of these achievements at moments when these civilizations should have been reaching their greatest heights. Then we'll examine how modern institutional science has developed mechanisms, some intentional, others simply emergent from the structure of academic culture, that serve to suppress or redirect revolutionary discoveries. This isn't about shadowy conspiracies in smoke-filled rooms, but about the more subtle ways that paradigms protect themselves, how funding flows, how peer review functions, and how the very language of advanced physics has become so complex that breakthrough insights become invisible to all but a tiny elite. Finally, we'll piece together the breadcrumbs, the evidence that this suppressed knowledge hasn't disappeared but has instead gone underground, manifesting in classified patent applications, corporate research projects that end abruptly and mysteriously, and the work of independent researchers whose discoveries seem to touch on the same fundamental principles that Tesla glimpsed and ancient civilizations may have mastered. Throughout this exploration, we'll maintain a spirit of open inquiry, allowing each revelation to naturally lead us to the next question, each mystery to deepen our appreciation for the vast complexity and hidden order that underlies our reality. We're not here to prove anything definitively or to convert anyone to a particular worldview. We're here to expand our awareness of possibilities, to stretch our understanding of what might be true, and to reconnect with that childlike sense of wonder that recognizes magic in the mundane and sees infinite potential in the space between what we know and what we don't know. The energy code we're exploring today operates at levels that transcend simple mechanical understanding. It touches the intersection between consciousness and matter, between intention and physical reality, between individual discovery and collective evolution. As we progress through each chapter, you'll find yourself not just learning about historical events or suppressed technologies, but encountering a different way of thinking about energy itself, not as a resource to be harvested or a force to be harnessed, but as a fundamental aspect of reality that responds to understanding, intention, and harmony with natural principles. So settle in comfortably and prepare to have your assumptions gently challenged and your sense of possibility gracefully expanded. Remember, this journey is as much about the questions we explore as the answers we might find. In quantum physics, we've learned that the very act of observation changes what we observe. Perhaps in consciousness, the very act of wondering transforms what we're capable of understanding. Why did Nikola Tesla, the man who gave us alternating current and wireless power, spend his final 20 years convinced that he had discovered something so dangerous he had to destroy his own life's work? This question will guide us into our first chapter, where we'll encounter not the Tesla of legend, but the Tesla of mystery, a genius who saw too much, understood too deeply, and paid the ultimate price for knowledge that challenged the very foundations of reality itself. The year was 1899, and Nikola Tesla stood at the pinnacle of his fame. The world knew him as the electrical wizard who had brought light to the darkness, the visionary who had made wireless power transmission possible, the showman who could stand before audiences and conduct electricity through his own body while remaining unharmed. Newspapers called him the modern Prometheus, bringing the fire of the gods to humanity. Yet something happened during his experiments in Colorado Springs that year. Something that would transform this confident genius into a haunted, paranoid figure who would spend his remaining decades in increasing isolation, obsessively guarding secrets that he believed were too dangerous for humanity to possess. Tesla's Colorado Springs laboratory was unlike anything the world had seen. Built specifically to study atmospheric electricity and wireless power transmission, it housed equipment capable of generating artificial lightning bolts that could be seen for miles. The centerpiece was a massive Tesla coil, standing over 50 feet tall, capable of producing electrical discharges of unprecedented power. Local residents reported strange phenomena during Tesla's experiments. Unusual glows in the sky, electrical equipment behaving erratically throughout the region, and electromagnetic disturbances that seemed to affect everything from compasses to the behavior of animals. But Tesla's own notes from this period reveal something far more extraordinary than mere electrical experimentation. He began documenting what he called stationary waves, standing electromagnetic waves that seemed to penetrate the Earth itself rather than radiating outward into space. These waves, he discovered, could be generated and controlled with remarkable precision, creating what he described as a system of wireless power transmission that could theoretically deliver electrical energy to any point on Earth without cables, without loss of power, and without the massive infrastructure that conventional electrical systems required. The mathematical elegance of Tesla's stationary wave discovery was breathtaking. He found that the Earth itself could be used as a conductor, that specific frequencies could create resonance conditions that would amplify electrical signals rather than diminish them with distance. His experiments suggested that relatively small amounts of electrical input could, under the right conditions, tap into what he began to describe as cosmic energy, a reservoir of power that seemed to exist in the very fabric of space itself. Tesla's notebooks from this period reveal his growing obsession with numerical patterns, particularly the numbers 3, 6, and 9, which he believed held the key to understanding the fundamental structure of the universe. He began to see these numbers everywhere in his calculations, in the frequencies that produced the most dramatic effects, in the geometric relationships between his experimental apparatus. He wrote of discovering the secret of the universe through these numerical relationships, claiming that whoever understood the significance of these numbers would hold the key to unlimited energy and the control of matter itself. Yet something in these discoveries deeply disturbed Tesla. His public demonstrations, which had been the hallmark of his career, suddenly ceased. The man who had once delighted in showing the world the wonders of electricity began to work in complete secrecy, allowing no one to witness his most important experiments. His communications with other scientists became cryptic and guarded. He began to speak of forces that could split the Earth in half, and of discoveries that were too dangerous for humanity in its present state of evolution. The transformation was so dramatic that even Tesla's closest associates began to worry about his mental state. Here was a man who had built his career on publicity, who had courted the press and reveled in public recognition, suddenly becoming a recluse who trusted no one with his most significant work. He began to exhibit behaviors that seemed paranoid to outside observers, checking and rechecking his equipment for signs of tampering, using codes in his personal notes, and eventually burning entire notebooks of research when he became convinced that his discoveries might fall into the wrong hands. Tesla's later writings reveal a man grappling with the moral implications of what he had discovered. He spoke of forces that could provide unlimited clean energy to all of humanity, but also of the same forces being capable of unimaginable destruction. He claimed that his stationary wave technology could not only transmit power wirelessly, but could also be used to create earthquakes, to influence weather patterns, and to affect human consciousness on a mass scale. The same principles that could free humanity from scarcity, he believed, could also be used to enslave it. The scientific establishment of Tesla's time was largely unprepared to understand what he had discovered. The mathematics of his stationary wave theory challenged fundamental assumptions about how electromagnetic energy behaved. His claims about tapping into cosmic energy seemed to violate the conservation of energy principle. His numerical mysticism around the numbers 3, 6, and 9 appeared to cross the line from science into metaphysics. Rather than engage with the implications of Tesla's work, the scientific community largely dismissed it as the eccentric speculation of a brilliant but possibly unbalanced mind. But Tesla's concerns went deeper than scientific recognition. His private correspondence from his later years reveals a man genuinely terrified by what he had unleashed. He wrote of receiving what he interpreted as communications from extraterrestrial intelligences, drawn to Earth by his high-powered experiments. He spoke of opening doorways that perhaps should have remained closed, of touching forces that existed outside the normal framework of physical reality. Whether these experiences were literal or symbolic, they clearly convinced Tesla that his discoveries carried risks that extended far beyond the purely technological. The tragedy of Tesla's final years was not just personal, but collective. He was possibly the greatest scientific mind of his generation, possessed of discoveries that could have transformed human civilization, yet unable to share that knowledge because he had glimpsed its potential for both transcendence and annihilation. He spent his last decades working alone in increasingly Spartan hotel rooms, supported by admirers who understood only a fraction of what he had achieved. taking to his grave secrets that might have solved humanity's energy crisis while simultaneously creating weapons more terrible than any nuclear bomb. When Tesla died in 1943, the FBI immediately seized all of his papers and research notes. 87 boxes of documents, many containing his most sensitive work, were classified and remain largely inaccessible to researchers even today. The official explanation is national security, that Tesla's discoveries might have military applications that could be dangerous if they fell into enemy hands. But those who have studied the available fragments of Tesla's later work suggest a different possibility. That his research had led him into territories that challenged not just our understanding of physics, but our understanding of the nature of reality itself. Tesla's obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9 has never been adequately explained by mainstream science. Modern researchers who have attempted to decode the significance of these numbers in Tesla's work have discovered mathematical relationships that seem to connect electromagnetic phenomena with the structure of matter, the behavior of energy, and even the organization of biological systems. Some have suggested that Tesla had discovered what we might now call a unified field theory, a mathematical framework that could explain not just electromagnetic forces, but gravity, nuclear forces, and the mysterious constants that govern quantum mechanics. The implications of such a discovery would be staggering. A genuine unified field theory would provide the mathematical foundation for technologies that could manipulate matter at the atomic level, influence gravitational fields, and potentially alter the flow of time itself. Such knowledge would represent a quantum leap in human capability that would dwarf the significance of any previous scientific revolution. It would also represent power beyond imagination, the power to reshape reality according to human will. Perhaps Tesla's fear was not unfounded. Perhaps he had indeed glimpsed something that humanity was not yet mature enough to handle responsibly. The 20th century would prove that human beings could create technologies capable of destroying their own species within decades of their discovery. Nuclear weapons, chemical warfare, biological weapons. Each breakthrough in our understanding of natural forces seemed to carry with it the seeds of potential catastrophe. What would we have done with the power to manipulate the fundamental forces that hold reality together? Tesla's story raises profound questions about the relationship between knowledge and responsibility, between scientific discovery and moral wisdom. It suggests that there may be levels of understanding that come with inherent dangers, truths about the nature of reality that transform not just what we can do, but who we are in the process of learning them. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of Tesla's life was not that he failed to share his discoveries with the world, but that he lived at a time when the world was not ready to receive them wisely. Next, we will explore how Tesla's experience was not unique in human history. You've just learned that our greatest modern genius discovered something so terrifying he destroyed his own legacy to protect humanity. But what if he wasn't the first? What if entire civilizations built impossible monuments using this same force, only to mysteriously abandon them at the height of their power, leaving behind only cryptic warnings carved in stone? The patterns emerge when you know where to look. Across continents, across millennia, advanced civilizations reach unprecedented heights of technological achievement, then vanish. Not gradually through conquest or natural disaster, but suddenly, completely, as if they simply walked away from everything they had built. They leave behind monuments that modern engineering struggles to replicate, precision that our most advanced instruments can barely measure, and a haunting silence that echoes through the archaeological record like a warning whispered across time. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as perhaps the most obvious example of this enigma. Built with mathematical precision that incorporates the speed of light, the circumference of the Earth, and astronomical relationships that wouldn't be officially discovered for thousands of years. It represents a level of knowledge that orthodox archaeology struggles to explain. But the precision isn't limited to mathematics. The actual construction demonstrates capabilities that challenge our understanding of ancient technology. The pyramid's massive stone blocks, some weighing over 15 tons, are fitted together with tolerances measured in millimeters. No mortar was used, yet after 4.5 millennia, you cannot slide a knife blade between the joints. Modern attempts to understand how such precision was achieved have led to increasingly desperate explanations. Conventional archaeology suggests vast armies of workers using copper tools, wooden rollers, and rope systems to quarry, transport, and precisely position over 2 million stone blocks. Yet experiments attempting to recreate these methods using period-appropriate technology have consistently failed to achieve even a fraction of the precision evident in the original construction. The mathematical relationships encoded in the pyramid's dimensions suggest knowledge of advanced geometry, astronomy, and physics that supposedly wouldn't exist for thousands of years. But Giza is not an isolated case. The megalithic structures at Pumapunku in Bolivia demonstrate stonework precision that modern diamond-tipped tools struggle to match. The site contains massive blocks of diorite and granite, materials so hard they can only be effectively worked with advanced machinery. Yet these blocks were cut and shaped with perfect geometric precision. The joints between stones are so precise they create airtight seals, and the overall construction incorporates complex interlocking systems that suggest modular design, principles remarkably similar to modern prefabricated construction. What makes Pumapunku particularly mysterious is the apparent sophistication of the engineering principles involved. The structures incorporate advanced concepts of load distribution, seismic stability, and modular construction that weren't officially developed until the industrial age. The precision of the stone cutting rivals modern manufacturing capabilities, while the scale of the construction required moving and positioning stones weighing over 100 tons with perfect accuracy. Yet according to orthodox archaeology, the civilization that built Pumapunku had no written language, no wheel technology, and no metal tools harder than bronze. The Easter Island civilization presents perhaps the most haunting example of sudden abandonment. The Rapa Nui people created nearly 1,000 massive stone statues, some standing over 30 feet tall and weighing up to 80 tons. The precision required to carve these figures from solid volcanic rock, transport them across the island, and position them with perfect stability represents an extraordinary level of technological capability. Yet at the height of their monument-building activity, the civilization simply stopped. The statues were abandoned in various stages of completion. Tools were left scattered around work sites, and the population virtually disappeared, leaving behind only legends and the silent sentries that still guard the island's coastline. Modern research has revealed that the Easter Island statues were not just carved heads, as popular culture suggests, but full-body figures extending deep underground. The sophistication of their construction includes carefully calculated weight distribution, internal structural systems, and placement that seems to follow astronomical alignments. The logistics of creating and positioning these monuments would challenge modern engineering capabilities, yet they were accomplished by a civilization that supposedly had no advanced technology, no written records of their methods, and no apparent means of coordinating such massive undertakings. The Anasazi culture of the American Southwest provides another example of this pattern. These people created architectural marvels that demonstrate advanced understanding of astronomy, engineering, and environmental adaptation. Their cliff dwellings at Mesa Verde incorporate sophisticated water management systems, astronomical observation platforms, and construction techniques that provided natural climate control and earthquake resistance. The precision of their stonework, the complexity of their architectural planning, and the integration of their structures with natural rock formations represent achievements that modern architects and engineers study and admire. Yet at the peak of their cultural development, around 1300 CE, the Anasazi abandoned their magnificent cities and dispersed, leaving behind perfectly preserved settlements that appear to have been evacuated suddenly and completely. Archaeological evidence suggests they had developed sustainable agricultural practices, sophisticated social organization, and technologies that allowed them to thrive in challenging desert environments. There is no evidence of warfare, natural disaster, or gradual decline. They simply left, taking their knowledge with them, and leaving behind only empty cities and cryptic petroglyphs that modern researchers struggle to interpret. The global nature of these patterns becomes even more intriguing when we examine the mythological traditions these civilizations left behind. Across cultures that had no known contact with each other, we find remarkably similar stories of advanced beings who possessed knowledge of natural forces that allowed them to accomplish impossible feats. These beings are described as having the ability to make stones float, to control the elements, to harness cosmic energies for both construction and destruction. The myths speak of a golden age when this knowledge was used wisely, followed by a period of corruption and misuse that led to catastrophic consequences. The Hindu Vedas describe Vimanas, flying vehicles powered by mercury engines that could travel between worlds. They speak of weapons that could destroy entire armies with forces that sound remarkably similar to modern descriptions of nuclear weapons. The texts describe cities that floated in the sky, technologies that could manipulate matter at the atomic level, and knowledge of forces that modern physics is only beginning to understand. Orthodox scholarship dismisses these accounts as mythology, yet the precision and consistency of the technical descriptions across different texts suggest they may represent memories of actual technologies that existed in humanity's distant past. Similar patterns appear in traditions worldwide. The builders of Stonehenge somehow transported massive trilithons from quarries hundreds of miles away, then positioned them with astronomical precision that demonstrates sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics. The construction demonstrates knowledge of acoustic properties that create specific sound effects within the stone circle, suggesting the monument may have been designed as a kind of acoustic resonance chamber. Yet the civilization that built Stonehenge left no written records of their methods, no tools capable of accomplishing such construction, and no explanation of how they achieved such precision without advanced measuring instruments. The massive stone spheres of Costa Rica present another puzzle. These perfectly round granite spheres, some nearly 8 feet in diameter and weighing 16 tons, were crafted with precision that modern ball-bearing manufacturers would find difficult to match. They were created by a civilization that supposedly had no metal tools, no measuring instruments capable of ensuring such geometric perfection, and no known purpose for creating objects requiring such extraordinary precision. Yet hundreds of these spheres exist, scattered across the Costa Rican landscape like calling cards left by a civilization that understood principles of mathematics and stoneworking that we can observe but not explain. What makes these examples particularly significant is not just their individual impossibility, but the pattern they represent when considered collectively. Advanced civilizations repeatedly develop capabilities that seem to transcend the technological limitations of their supposed time period, then abandon these achievements at the moment of their greatest success. It's as if humanity periodically develops knowledge that allows extraordinary manipulation of physical forces, uses this knowledge to create monuments that demonstrate its power, then recognizes that such capabilities carry risks that outweigh their benefits. The sudden abandonment aspect is particularly disturbing when examined closely. These aren't civilizations that were conquered by enemies, destroyed by natural disasters, or that gradually declined due to environmental changes. Archaeological evidence consistently shows thriving cultures at the peak of their achievement, then sudden, complete disappearance. It's as if these civilizations reached a critical threshold of understanding about the forces they were manipulating, then made a collective decision to walk away from everything they had built rather than continue down a path they had come to recognize as ultimately destructive. Perhaps most intriguingly, many of these sites show evidence of deliberate concealment. Puma Punku was found buried under layers of earth that appear to have been intentionally placed to hide the structures. Easter Island statues were deliberately buried, leaving only their heads visible above ground. Stonehenge shows evidence of modifications that may have been intended to reduce its effectiveness as whatever kind of device it originally represented. It's as if these civilizations didn't just abandon their technologies, they actively tried to hide the evidence of what they had accomplished. The implications of this pattern are profound and disturbing. If these civilizations possessed advanced knowledge of energy manipulation, if they built their monuments using principles that we don't understand, If they then deliberately concealed and abandoned their achievements, what did they discover about the ultimate consequences of such knowledge? What did they learn that was so troubling they chose to return to simpler ways of life rather than continue advancing along the technological path they had discovered? Tesla's experience begins to look less like an individual tragedy and more like the repetition of a pattern that has played out multiple times in human history. Perhaps the knowledge he stumbled upon in Colorado Springs was not new to our species. Perhaps he had rediscovered principles that previous civilizations had mastered, used, and then abandoned when they realized the full implications of what they had unleashed. Perhaps his fear and his decision to destroy his own research was not paranoia, but wisdom inherited from ancestors who had walked this path before and learned where it ultimately leads. Next, we will examine how modern institutions might be unconsciously recreating the same protective mechanisms that caused ancient knowledge to be suppressed. Now you know that ancient civilizations possessed this knowledge and modern geniuses rediscovered it. But here's the disturbing question. If this energy source is real and has been found multiple times throughout history, why does mainstream science act like it doesn't exist? What are they so afraid you'll learn that they've weaponized mathematics itself to hide the truth? The protection of paradigms happens not through grand conspiracies, but through thousands of small decisions, each seemingly rational, each defensible in isolation, yet collectively creating an impenetrable barrier around certain types of knowledge. Modern academic science has evolved into a system so sophisticated in its methods of excluding revolutionary ideas that it no longer requires conscious conspiracy to suppress breakthrough discoveries. The mechanisms of suppression have become embedded in the very structure of how research is funded, how papers are reviewed, how careers are built, and how scientific truth is determined. Consider the peer review process, often held up as the gold standard of scientific rigor. On the surface, it appears to be the perfect method for ensuring quality and accuracy. Experts in a field evaluate new research to determine whether it meets standards for publication. In practice, peer review has become a mechanism for enforcing conformity to existing paradigms. Reviewers, who are necessarily experts in current theoretical frameworks, evaluate new work based on how well it fits within those frameworks. Research that challenges fundamental assumptions, that suggests existing models are incomplete or incorrect, or that proposes radically new approaches to understanding natural phenomena, faces systematic rejection, not because it is wrong, but because it is incompatible with the worldview of the reviewers. This creates a circular validation system where only ideas that confirm existing beliefs are allowed to enter the scientific literature. Revolutionary concepts, by definition, contradict established understanding and therefore appear to peer reviewers as obviously flawed or mistaken. The history of science is filled with breakthrough discoveries that were initially rejected by peer review. Plate tectonics, the bacterial origin of stomach ulcers, the reality of quantum entanglement. Yet the system continues to treat peer review as if it were an infallible method of determining truth, rather than recognizing it as a conservative force that systematically filters out paradigm-shifting insights. The mathematics of modern physics has become so complex and specialized that it functions as an effective barrier to entry for anyone who might approach familiar problems from unconventional angles. Quantum field theory, general relativity, and string theory require such extensive mathematical background that only individuals who have spent decades mastering the existing formulations can participate in discussions about these topics. This mathematical complexity serves a dual function. It ensures that only those thoroughly indoctrinated in current theoretical approaches can contribute to the conversation. And it makes the theories themselves essentially incomprehensible to outside observers who might otherwise notice logical inconsistencies or questionable assumptions. The specialization has reached a level where physicists working in different subfields can no longer understand each other's work. A quantum field theorist cannot meaningfully evaluate research in condensed matter physics. A cosmologist cannot assess the validity of particle physics experiments. And theorists in general have become so removed from experimental reality that they can pursue mathematical abstractions for decades without any requirement that their work correspond to observable phenomena. This fragmentation ensures that no individual has sufficient breadth of knowledge to recognize patterns that might span multiple disciplines, or to notice that seemingly unrelated fields of study might be describing different aspects of the same underlying phenomena. The funding mechanisms that support modern scientific research create additional layers of conservative bias. Research grants are evaluated by committees of established scientists who naturally favor proposals that extend existing lines of inquiry rather than those that challenge fundamental assumptions. Revolutionary research is inherently risky. It may lead to discoveries that invalidate decades of previous work, that require complete reconsideration of established theories, or that suggest entirely new directions for investigation. From a funding perspective, such research represents poor investment compared to projects that promise incremental advances within well-understood frameworks. This creates a selection pressure that favors caution over innovation, conformity over creativity, and incremental progress over revolutionary breakthrough. Young researchers quickly learn that career success requires working within established paradigms, using approved methodologies, and reaching conclusions that extend rather than contradict existing knowledge. Those who pursue genuinely original investigations find themselves without funding, without publication opportunities, and without career prospects. Within the academic system, the institutional structure of universities reinforces these tendencies through tenure and promotion processes that reward productivity within narrow specializations. Academic careers are built on publishing papers within specific journals, gaining recognition from established experts in particular subfields, and demonstrating mastery of current theoretical frameworks. There is no career path for researchers who work across disciplines, who challenge fundamental assumptions, or who pursue investigations that don't fit neatly into existing departmental structures. The system produces specialists who know more and more about less and less, while systematic discouraging the generalists who might notice connections between seemingly unrelated phenomena. Professional, scientific societies and journals have become gatekeepers that determine what ideas are allowed to enter the scientific conversation. Editorial boards consist of established researchers with reputations built on current paradigms, who have little incentive to publish work that might invalidate their own life's research. The journals themselves depend on subscribers and advertisers who expect content that fits within conventional frameworks. Alternative viewpoints, unconventional methodologies, and revolutionary theories are systematically excluded not through conscious censorship but through editorial policies that favor mainstream approaches and conventional wisdom. The result is a scientific literature that presents an illusion of open inquiry while actually representing a carefully curated collection of ideas that support existing paradigms. Research that contradicts established theories is simply not published in major journals, which means it doesn't exist as far as the official scientific record is concerned. Scientists learn to avoid certain topics, to phrase their findings in ways that minimize conflict with established theories, and to pursue lines of investigation that are unlikely to lead to paradigm-challenging discoveries. Perhaps most insidiously, the language of modern physics has evolved in ways that obscure rather than illuminate the underlying phenomena being studied. Quantum mechanics is taught through mathematical formalisms that produce correct predictions without providing any comprehensible explanation of what is actually happening at the quantum level. Students learn to calculate the behavior of particles without ever developing intuitive understanding of the physical processes involved. Relativity is presented through tensor mathematics that describe space-time curvature without explaining what space and time actually are or how matter manages to curve them. This mathematical abstraction serves to hide the fact that modern physics has developed extensive descriptive capabilities without achieving genuine understanding of the phenomena it describes. We can predict the behavior of quantum systems with extraordinary precision, but we have no coherent explanation of what quantum particles actually are or how they manage to exist in multiple states simultaneously. We can calculate the effects of gravity with incredible accuracy, but we have no idea what gravity actually is or how mass manages to warp the fabric of space and time. The mathematical formalism allows physicists to work with these concepts without confronting the fact that our theories describe correlations and behaviors without explaining underlying mechanisms. This creates an environment where researchers can spend entire careers manipulating abstract mathematical entities without ever asking fundamental questions about the physical reality those entities are supposed to represent. The mathematics becomes a smokescreen that conceals the fact that we are working with models rather than understanding actual physical processes. The educational system perpetuates these problems by training students to memorize and apply mathematical techniques without developing physical intuition or critical thinking skills. Physics education has become a process of indoctrination into current theoretical frameworks rather than training in the methods of investigation that led to breakthrough discoveries in the past. Students learn to solve problems using established techniques but are not taught to question the assumptions underlying those techniques or to recognize when unconventional approaches might be more appropriate. Graduate students are assigned research projects that represent minor variations on well-established themes, ensuring that they develop expertise within narrow specializations while remaining ignorant of broader patterns that might suggest alternative approaches. The dissertation process requires students to demonstrate mastery of existing knowledge rather than encouraging them to challenge fundamental assumptions or pursue genuinely original investigations. By the time they complete their education, they have been thoroughly trained to work within existing paradigms and have internalized the conservative biases that keep the system stable. The cumulative effect of these mechanisms is a scientific establishment that has become extraordinarily effective at protecting itself from revolutionary ideas. The system can accommodate incremental advances, technical refinements, and applications of existing theories to new domains, but it cannot handle fundamental challenges to its basic assumptions. Revolutionary insights are filtered out at every level through funding decisions, peer review processes, editorial policies, career incentives, and educational practices that ensure each new generation of scientists is thoroughly indoctrinated into current ways of thinking. This systematic exclusion of revolutionary ideas explains why certain types of discoveries seem to vanish from the scientific record despite having been made repeatedly by competent researchers. Energy technologies that appear to violate conservation laws, healing techniques that produce effects beyond the capabilities of conventional medicine, consciousness research that suggests mind-matter interactions. These and other controversial topics are not debated and refuted within mainstream science. They are simply ignored as if they don't exist. The tragedy is that this protective system, originally designed to maintain scientific rigor and prevent the acceptance of flawed ideas, has evolved into a mechanism that systematically excludes precisely the types of breakthrough insights that could revolutionize our understanding of natural phenomena. The cure has become worse than the disease, creating a scientific establishment that is incredibly sophisticated at doing more of the same while being constitutionally incapable of recognizing when fundamental assumptions need to be reconsidered. Tesla's experience with the scientific establishment of his time now appears less like personal persecution and more like the predictable response of a system designed to protect existing paradigms from revolutionary challenges. His discoveries threatened not just specific theories, but the entire framework through which his contemporaries understood reality. The system responded by ignoring, marginalizing, and ultimately suppressing his most important work, just as it continues to respond to comparable challenges today. Next, we will uncover how this systematic suppression has not succeeded in eliminating the forbidden knowledge entirely. You now understand the cover-up, how they buried Tesla's discoveries, erased ancient knowledge, and turned science itself into a prison of limited thinking. But here's what they didn't count on. The truth has a way of leaking out. The evidence is hiding in plain sight, scattered across patent offices, declassified documents, and corporate research labs. The question isn't whether this energy exists. The question is, are you ready to see what they've been desperately trying to hide? Truth has a peculiar persistence, like water finding its way through rock. Genuine discoveries have a tendency to seep through even the most sophisticated systems of suppression, leaving traces that careful observers can detect and follow. The energy technologies that Tesla discovered, the principles that ancient civilizations may have mastered, The revolutionary insights that academic science systematically excludes, these haven't disappeared entirely. They've gone underground, fragmenting into scattered clues that appear in unlikely places, protected by classification, obscured by technical language, and hidden within research programs that were terminated just as they approached breakthrough discoveries. The United States Patent Office maintains a classification system that removes certain patents from public access on the grounds of national security. Currently, over 5,000 patents remain classified under these provisions, their contents known only to government agencies and selected defense contractors. While the official justification is protection of military technology, analysis of the patents that have been declassified after decades of secrecy reveals a disturbing pattern. Many involve energy generation methods that appear to violate conventional understanding of thermodynamics, propulsion systems that don't require reaction mass, and material science breakthroughs that could revolutionize manufacturing. Patent number 1061142, filed by Tesla in 1909, describes a flying machine that operates on principles fundamentally different from conventional aircraft. Rather than relying on wings or propellers, Tesla's design uses electrical fields to create thrust without requiring any reaction against surrounding air. The patent was immediately classified and remained hidden from public view for over 70 years. When finally declassified, the technical descriptions proved remarkably similar to technologies that independent researchers had been developing, suggesting that Tesla's insights into electromagnetic propulsion were far more advanced than his public work had indicated. The Boyd-Bushman patents represent another example of breakthrough energy technology being systematically suppressed through classification. Bushman, a senior research engineer at Lockheed Martin, filed dozens of patents describing anti-gravity devices over unity energy systems and electromagnetic field manipulation techniques that challenged fundamental assumptions about physics. His work suggested that certain geometric configurations of magnetic fields could create self-sustaining energy generation systems that produced more output than input, apparently violating conservation of energy principles. Upon filing, these patents were immediately classified, and Bushman was prohibited from discussing his research publicly. Corporate research laboratories have repeatedly stumbled upon energy technologies that their parent companies have then chosen to suppress rather than develop. The Pons-Fleischmann cold fusion experiments at the University of Utah in 1989 demonstrated nuclear reactions occurring at room temperature with minimal input energy. Rather than encouraging further research, the energy industry and academic establishment launched a coordinated campaign to discredit the findings, despite independent replication by researchers worldwide. The suppression was so effective that cold fusion became synonymous with pathological science, even though government laboratories continued to fund classified research into the phenomenon. General Electric's research division developed rotating magnetic field devices in the 1960s that appeared to produce anomalous energy outputs. Internal company documents, released through Freedom of Information Act, requests decades later reveal that GE researchers achieved energy gain ratios that violated conventional physics understanding. Rather than pursue commercial applications, the company terminated the research program and transferred the lead scientists to unrelated projects. Similar patterns appear in corporate research records from Westinghouse, Bell Labs, and other major technology companies. Breakthrough discoveries followed by abrupt program termination and researcher reassignment. The Edwin Gray motor represents perhaps the most documented case of revolutionary energy technology being systematically suppressed. Gray developed an electrical motor in the 1970s that appeared to operate with extraordinary efficiency, producing mechanical output that exceeded its electrical input by factors that violated conventional understanding of energy conservation. Demonstrations of the Gray motor were conducted for engineers from major automotive companies, energy corporations, and government agencies. Rather than licensing the technology, these organizations initiated legal challenges that tied Gray up in patent disputes for years, while his financial resources were exhausted through litigation. Independent analysis of the Gray motor revealed that it operated on principles involving the manipulation of what Gray called radiant energy, electromagnetic, phenomena that Tesla had investigated during his Colorado Springs experiments. The motor used specially designed circuits that created electromagnetic pulses with unusual characteristics, apparently tapping into what Gray described as environmental energy that existed in the space surrounding conventional electrical circuits. Government documents obtained through FOIA requests reveal that multiple agencies were monitoring Gray's work and actively interfering with his attempts to commercialize the technology. The work of Dr. Eugene Malove at MIT provides another example of institutional suppression of revolutionary energy research. Malove documented numerous examples of cold fusion experiments that produced positive results, including work conducted at government laboratories, universities, and corporate research facilities worldwide. His careful analysis demonstrated that the initial rejection of cold fusion was based on flawed experimental protocols and deliberate misrepresentation of positive results. When Malove attempted to publish his findings, he faced career destruction, funding termination, and ultimately assassination in 2004, just as he was preparing to release a comprehensive report on suppressed energy technologies. The Hutchison effect, discovered by Canadian researcher John Hutchison, demonstrates material manipulation capabilities that suggest access to energy technologies beyond current understanding. Hutchison's experiments produced levitation of heavy objects, metal fusion at room temperature, and temporary alteration of material properties using electromagnetic field configurations inspired by Tesla's work. Video documentation of these effects was verified by independent observers, including government scientists and military officials. Rather than supporting further research, government agencies confiscated Hutchison's equipment multiple times and prohibited him from continuing his investigations. Patent analysis reveals consistent patterns in the suppression of breakthrough energy technologies. Patents that describe over-unity devices, anti-gravity systems, or room-temperature nuclear reactions are routinely classified or rejected on the basis of violating known physical laws. Patent examiners are instructed to deny applications that claim to violate thermodynamics principles, regardless of experimental evidence supporting the claims. This creates a situation where revolutionary technologies cannot receive patent protection, making commercial development virtually impossible due to lack of intellectual property rights. The declassification process itself provides evidence of systematic suppression. Documents released after decades of classification frequently contain references to energy technologies that were considered promising enough to warrant government funding. Yet these programs were terminated without public explanation. The official reasons given for termination, technical difficulties, funding constraints, changes in strategic priorities, appear inadequate when compared to the potential applications described in the research proposals and progress reports. International patents reveal that breakthrough energy research is not limited to the United States. Soviet-era research documents describe experiments with torsion fields and vacuum energy extraction that produced measurable energy outputs from sources that conventional physics cannot explain. Chinese research institutions have published papers describing successful replication of cold fusion effects and room temperature superconductivity experiments. Japanese corporations hold patents for devices that manipulate gravitational fields and extract energy from quantum vacuum fluctuations. The global nature of these discoveries suggests that the underlying phenomena are real and reproducible, despite official denials from mainstream scientific institutions. The mathematical frameworks underlying these technologies consistently point toward the same fundamental insights that Tesla discovered during his Colorado Springs experiments. The successful devices all involve precise manipulation of electromagnetic fields at specific frequencies, geometric configurations that create resonance conditions, and timing sequences that synchronize with natural oscillations in the local electromagnetic environment. The numerical relationships frequently involve Tesla's obsession with the numbers 3, 6, and 9, suggesting that his intuitive understanding of cosmic harmonics was more accurate than conventional physics has recognized. Modern quantum physics has inadvertently provided theoretical justification for many of these suppressed technologies. The concept of zero-point energy suggests that empty space contains enormous amounts of energy that could theoretically be extracted for practical use. Quantum field theory describes particle-antiparticle pairs spontaneously appearing and annihilating in vacuum, creating measurable effects that can be detected experimentally. The Casimir effect demonstrates that quantum vacuum fluctuations produce measurable forces between closely spaced metal plates, proving that empty space is actually a seething ocean of energy that might be accessible to properly designed devices. The suppression mechanisms that have kept these technologies hidden are beginning to break down as information becomes more difficult to control in the digital age. Patent databases that were once accessible only to specialists are now available online, allowing independent researchers to identify patterns in classified technologies. Government documents that would have remained hidden indefinitely are being released through automated declassification processes. Corporate whistleblowers are using encrypted communication channels to share information about suppressed research projects without fear of immediate retaliation. The cumulative evidence suggests that breakthrough energy technologies have been repeatedly discovered, developed to the prototype stage, then systematically suppressed through a combination of patent classification, legal harassment, financial pressure, and professional marginalization. The suppression appears to be coordinated across government agencies, academic institutions, and corporate research laboratories, creating an interlocking system of denial that has kept revolutionary discoveries hidden from public awareness for over a century. Yet the evidence continues to accumulate. Each declassified document, each leaked corporate memo, each independently replicated experiment adds another piece to a puzzle that reveals the existence of energy technologies that could transform human civilization. The question is no longer whether such technologies exist. The evidence is overwhelming that they do. The question is whether humanity is ready to confront the implications of what we have discovered, and whether we have developed sufficient wisdom to handle responsibly the power that these technologies represent. Tesla's fear that his discoveries were too dangerous for humanity may have been prophetic rather than paranoid. The systematic suppression of breakthrough energy technologies may represent not conspiracy but wisdom, an unconscious collective recognition that certain types of knowledge carry risks that outweigh their benefits. Perhaps we are protecting ourselves from discoveries that could provide unlimited clean energy and freedom from scarcity, but at the cost of capabilities that could also be used to destroy our species and our planet. The breadcrumbs are there for those with eyes to see them. The pattern is clear for those willing to connect the scattered dots. The energy code that Tesla glimpsed, that ancient civilizations may have mastered, that modern researchers continue to rediscover in fragments. It exists, it works, and it remains hidden not because it is impossible, but because its implications are too profound for our current level of consciousness to integrate safely. The question that remains is whether we will continue to suppress this knowledge, or whether we will finally develop the wisdom to reclaim our birthright as conscious participants in the cosmic dance of energy that pervades all reality.